Okay, so yesterday I did not read from Gangster Granny, and I kind of hate in the beginning of books because sometimes they can be slow, but this book is supposed to be very funny. So let's see. Chapter 2, A Duck Quacking. Before long, Granny and grandson were sitting opposite each other in a deadly silence at the dining room table. Just like every single Friday night, when his parents weren't watching strictly on TV, they were eating curry or going to the movies. Friday night was their date night, and ever since Ben could remember, they had been dropping him off at his granny when they went out. If they weren't going to see Strictly Stars dancing live on stage live, they would normally go to the Taj Mahal, the Curry House on the High Street, not the ancient white marble monument in India, and eat their own body weight in papadums. All that could be heard in the bungalow was the ticking of the carriage clock on the mantelpiece, the clicking of metal spoons against porcelain bowls, and occasional high pitched whistle of Granny's faulty hearing aid. It was a device whose purpose seemed to be not so much to aid Granny's deafness, but to cause deafness in others. It was one of the main things that Ben hated about his granny. The others were: one, Granny would always spit in the used tissue she kept on the sleeve of her cardigan and wipe her grandson's face with it. Two, her TV had been broken since 1992 and now was covered in dust so thick it was like fur. Three, her house was stuffed full of books and she was always trying to get Ben to read them, even though he loathed reading. Four, Granny insisted you wore a heavy winter coat all year round, even on a boiling hot day, otherwise you wouldn't feel the benefit. Five, she reeked of cabbage. Anyone with a cabbage allergy would not be able to come within 10 miles of her. Six, Granny's idea of an exciting day out was feeding moldy crust of bread to some ducks in a pond. Seven, she constantly blew off without even acknowledging it. Eight, those blow-offs didn't just smell of cabbage, they smelled of rotten cabbage. Nine, Granny made you go to bed so early it seemed hardly worthwhile getting up in the first place. 10, she knitted her only grandson jumpers for Christmas with puppies or kittens on them, which he was forced to wear during the whole festive period by his parents. "How's your soup?" inquired the old lady. Ben had been sitting the pale green liquid around. Ben had been stirring the pale green liquid around the chipped bowl for the last 10 minutes, hoping it would somehow disappear. It wouldn't, and now it's getting cold. Cold bits of cabbage floating around in some cold cabbagey water. It's delicious, thank you, replied Ben. Good. Tick tock, tick tock. Good, said the old lady again. Clink, clink. Good. Granny seemed to find it hard to speak to Ben as she did to her. I'm sorry, Granny seemed to find it as hard to speak to Ben as he did to her. Clink, clack, whistle. "How's school?" she asked. "Boring," muttered Ben. Adults always ask kids how they are doing at school, the one subject kids absolutely hate talking about. "You don't even want to talk about school when you are at school." "Oh," said Granny. Tick tock, clink clack, whistle tick tock. "Well, I must check on the oven," said Granny after the long pause stretched out into an even longer pause. "I've got your favorite cabbage pie on the go." Ooh, that doesn't sound good. She rose slowly from her seat and made her way to the kitchen. As she took each step, a little bubble of wind puffed out of her saggy bottom. It sounded like a duck quacking. Either she didn't realize she was extremely good at pretending she didn't realize. Ben watched her go and then crept silently across the room. This was difficult because of the piles of books everywhere. Ben's granny loved books and always seemed to have her nose in one. They were stacked on shelves, lined on windowsills, piled up in corners. Crime novels were her favorite. Books about gangsters, bank robbers, the mafia, and the like. Ben wasn't sure what the difference between a gangsta and a gangster was, but a gangsta seemed much worse. Although Ben hated reading, he loved looking at all the covers of Granny's books. They had fast cars and guns and glamorous ladies luridly painted on them, and Ben found it hard to believe this boring old granny of his liked reading stories that looked so thrilling. Why is she obsessed with gangsters? Thought Ben. Gangsters don't live in bungalows. Gangsters don't play Scrabble. Gangsters probably don't smell of cabbage. Ben was a very slow reader, and the teachers at school made him feel stupid because he couldn't keep up. The headmistress had even put him down a year in the hope that he would catch up on his reading. As a result, all his friends were in a different class, and he felt nearly as lonely at school as he did at home, with his parents who only cared about ballroom dancing. Eventually, after a hairy moment where he nearly knocked over a stack of real-life crime books, Ben made it to the pot plant in the corner. He quickly tipped the remainder of his soup into it. The plant looked as if it was already dying, and if it wasn't dead yet, Granny's cold cabbage soup was sure to kill it off. Suddenly, Ben heard Granny's bum squeaking again as she made her way into the dining room. So he sped back to the table. He sat there trying to look as innocent as possible, with his empty bowl in front of him and his spoon in hand. I finished my soup. Thank you, Granny. It was yummy. That's good, said the old lady as she trundled back to the table carrying a saucepan and a tray. I've got plenty more here for you, boy. Smiling, she served him up another bowl. Ben gulped in terror. Chapter 3, Plumbing Weekly. I can't find my plumbing weekly, Raj, said Ben. It was the next Friday, and the boy had been scouring the magazine shelves of the local newsagent's shop. He couldn't find his favorite publication anywhere. The magazine was aimed at professional plumbers, and Ben was beguiled by pages and pages of pipes, taps, cisterns, ballcocks, boilers, tanks, and drains. Plumbing Weekly was the only thing he enjoyed reading, mainly because it was crammed full of pictures and diagrams. Ever since he had been old enough to hold things, Ben had loved plumbing. When other children were playing with ducks in the bath, Ben had asked his parents for bits of pipe and made complicated water channeling systems. If a tap broke in the house, he fixed it. If a toilet was blocked, Ben wasn't disgusted. He was ecstatic. Ben's parents didn't approve of him wanting to be a plumber, though. They wanted him to be rich and famous, and to their knowledge, there had never been a rich and famous plumber. Ben was as good with his hands as he was rubbish at reading, and was absolutely fascinated when a plumber came round to fix a leak. He would watch in awe, as a junior doctor might watch a great surgeon at work in an operating theater. But he always felt like a disappointment to his mom and dad. They desperately wanted him to fulfill the ambition they had never managed, to become a professional ballroom dancer. Ben's mom and dad had discovered their love of ballroom dancing too late to become champions themselves. And, to be honest, they seemed to prefer sitting on their bums watching it on TV to actually taking part. As such, Ben tried to keep his passion private. To avoid hurting his mom and dad's feelings, he stashed his copies of Plumbing Weekly under his bed, and he had made an arrangement with Raj so that every week the news agent would keep the plumbing magazine aside for him. Now, though, he couldn't find it anywhere. Ben had searched for the magazine behind Craig and the Heat, and even looked underneath the lady, not an actual lady. I mean the magazine called The Lady. All to no avail. Raj's store was madly messy, but people came from miles away to shop there, as he always brought a smile to their faces. Raj was halfway up a stepladder, putting up Christmas decorations. Well, I say Christmas decorations, he was actually putting up a banner that read Happy Birthday, though he had tipsied out the word birthday and replaced it with Scratchy Barrel with Christmas. Raj carefully stepped down off the ladder to help Ben with his search. Your plumbing weekly. Let me think. Have you looked beside the toffee bonbons? Asked Raj. Yes, replied Ben. It is not underneath the coloring books? No. And have you checked behind the penny chews? Yes. Well, this is very mysterious. I know I ordered one in for you, young Ben. Very mysterious. Rod was speaking extremely slowly, and in that way people do when they are thinking. I'm so sorry, Ben. I know you love it, but I don't have a clue where it is. I do have a special offer on cornettos. It's November, Raj. It's freezing outside, said Ben. Who would want to eat cornettos now? Everyone, when they hear my special offer. Wait until you hear this one. Buy 23 cornettos, get one free. Why on earth would I want 24 cornettos? Said Ben with a laugh. Well, I don't know. You could maybe eat 12 and put the other 12 in your pocket to enjoy later. That's a lot of cornettos. Raj, why are you so keen to get rid of them? They go out of date tomorrow, said Raj as he lumbered over to the freezer cabinet, slid open the glass top, and pulled out a cardboard box of cornettos. A freezing cold mist immediately shrouded the shop. Look, best before 15th of November. It's a picture of Raj. Ben studied the box. It says best before 15th of November of 1996. Well, says Raj, even more reason to put them on special offer. Okay, Ben, this is my final offer. Buy one box of cornettos. I will give you 10 boxes absolutely free. Really, Raj? No thanks, said Ben. He peered into the freezer cabinet to see what else might be lurking in there. It had never been defrosted, and Ben wouldn't have been surprised to find a perfectly preserved woolly mammoth from the ice age inside. Hang on, he said as he moved a few frost-encrusted ice lollies out of the way. It's in here, Plumbing Weekly. Ah, yes, I remember now, said Raj. I put it in there to keep it fresh for you. Fresh, said Ben. Well, young man, the magazine comes out on a Tuesday, but it's Friday today, so I put it in the freezer to keep it fresh for you, Ben. I didn't want it to go off. Ben wasn't sure how any magazine could ever go off, but he thanked the news agent anyway. That's very kind of you, Raj. And I'll have a pocket of Rolos, please. I can offer you 73 packets of Rolos for the price of 22, exclaimed the news agent with a smile that was meant to entice. No, thanks, Raj. 1,000 packets of Rolos for the price of 998. No thanks, said Raj. I'm sorry, no thanks, said Ben. Are you mad, Ben? That's a wonderful offer. All right, you drive a hard bargain, Ben. 1,007 packets of Rolos for the price of a million and four. That's 3 packets of Rolos, absolutely free. I'll just take 1 packet and the magazine, thank you. Of course, young sir. I can't wait to get stuck into Plumbing Weekly. I have to go and spend the whole night with my boring old granny again. It had been a week since Ben's last visit, and the dreaded Friday had rolled around once more. His parents were going to see a chick flick, according to his mom, romance and kissing and all that goo. Yuckity yuck yuck yuck. Tut tut tut, said Raj, shaking his head as he counted out Ben's change. Ben instantly felt ashamed. He had never seen the news agent do this before. Like all the other local kids, Ben regarded Raj as one of us, not one of them. He was so full of life and laughter. Raj seemed a world away from parents and teachers and all the grown-ups who felt they could tell you off because they were bigger than you. Just because your granny's old, young Ben, said Raj, doesn't mean she is boring. I'm getting on a bit myself. And whenever I And whenever I have met your granny, I found her to be a very interesting lady. But don't be too hard on her, Ben, pleaded Raj. We will all be old one day, even you. And I am sure your granny will have a secret or two. Old people always do. And that's the end of chapter 3.